It's just your standard Ginger Baker floating beat he would do in the middle of a jam. When the band would go off 3 different directions to kind of bring it back, you just kind of, look around, make sure everybody, let's get back to the song here. Where did all these licks come from? Well, the first lick, that's I Can See for Miles and Miles, the famous. I thought that was the greatest lick in the world, and it ends up on, that ended up to be the first lick, and Ain't That a Shame. The next lick, straight out of the end by the Beatles. I mean, coolest lick in the world. It's a 5-beat lick, so it overruns the bar. So if you're not paying attention, it's like, what's going on here? The guy didn't stop where he's supposed to and come back in. When they tried to edit our song for radio, the engineer couldn't figure it out. The manager called me and he goes, "Did you play some weird lick in here?" And it's like, well, it's only weird to you, but not to me. And we can't get it edited right. It's just like, and they never did. So what, The next lick was Bevan lick. He uses it on Looking On by Move and a couple other tunes, and we ended up covering a bunch of Move songs, so it was not unusual for me to be nicking a little of his stuff. The licks in the middle of his trades with the guitar is that was the Dave Clark 5 lick from Bits and Pieces, their second single. The next little fill in there was just more of the Mick Fleetwood fill in and stuff like that, his little Rattlesnake Shake or Green Manalishi licks and things like that. There was a group called Sweet, and they did Ballroom Blitz. I always liked that beat. I always liked Train Time by Cream. I noticed if you did Train Time backwards, you got kind of like a Ballroom Blitz thing. Well, Rick wrote some shuffle, and it was like, well, when we started slowing it down, and we're like, we need an intro. I was like, I got the perfect intro, and it was this. So Ballroom Blitz kind of morphed into I Want You to Want Me. Then the solo comes I Want You to Want Me, and I need something to do there. I was like, oh yeah, I know just what to do. So I was trying it like this. Too dopey, too pokey, so I went to the hi-hat. I stole that lick from the last time. I always loved the way Charlie Watts did it. It was like, so thank you, Charlie. I probably owe you 10 cents for that. And we did a song called Surrender. It was never a big hit, per se, at the same time, but I remember it was number 1 in Green Bay and it was number 40 in Chicago in the same week. And it topped charts here and there, but never all at once at the same time. And it was like, so basically what Surrender is a straight roll, then it's shotgun. Then on the choruses, where I get the big wash going and the ride on the snare drum. So this is the old Dave Clark 5. And the old wash is Keith Moon. You can't go wrong with Keith Moon on any song. So that's where these things come from. They don't get like invented by me in some brainchild moment or something. They got invented by that guy in 1966, who probably nicked it from that guy in 1958, who probably learned it from some guy, who did it on some song in 1942 or something. And this is kind of how it goes with self-taught drummers. And these are the licks that pay the bills. The rock and roll lick, that ended up on the first song on our first record. It's called LOKDs, and it goes. real good for me in 1976, and about a year ago, I got a phone call, and it was Nick Tremulous and John Sturrott, and let's do this thing for Candy Gold, and we got this Paul Simon cover we're doing, and play your Hello Kitties beat on it. And I was like, yeah, no problem, you know, so it's these things, even with myself, they keep morphing, and you know, it's gone from me doing rock and roll to me doing Hello Kitties to me doing this to me doing that. I mean, I'm stealing from myself these days, you know. Can't go wrong with it, you know. Tonight It's You, we did a song in the 80s called Tonight It's You, and it's all like, and we got in the studio, we were down at Lake Geneva, and I was like, I was like, Kenny Jones, how would he do this? Because it was that kind of Kenny Jones feel. And I kind of just channeled my inner Kenny Jones from the Small Faces. And of course, Kenny later ended up being in The Who. He ended up working with Paul Rogers from Free. His singer Steve Marriott did pretty good with his little project, Humble Pie. A lot of these guys, you learn stuff from them in the 60s, and you end up meeting them in the 80s or 90s. And you know, hey, I stole your da-da-da-da. Now I got kids coming up to me, you know, yeah, I stole da-da-da-da from you. And it's just like, no, you didn't steal it from me, kid. Stole it from someone else. And of course, Colbert Show.